Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. Ethan Harper, a millionaire, heir to a massive investment empire, and owner of an ego the size of the city, sat bored while flipping through a stack of resumes. His team had just hired a new employee, Sophia Bennett. But Ethan didn't care. Employees came and went like guests at his parties. The next morning, something unusual happened. Ethan woke up earlier than usual, which was rare, and went down to the living room. As he opened the door, he froze. There she was, Sophia, on her knees on the white marble floor, scrubbing a stubborn stain with such focus it looked like she was fighting a battle against the cleaning product. Ethan cleared his throat, waiting for her reaction. Sophia looked up for just a second and said simply, "Good morning, Mr. Harper," then went straight back to work as if he were just anyone. Ethan blinked, confused. That's it. No smile, no wide-eyed look at the view from the 50th floor. Nothing. It threw him off. He was used to being treated like a movie star. Instead, he was ignored like a living room lamp. He straightened up, flashed his best practiced smile, and walked over with the confidence of someone who always got what he wanted. "So, you're the new hire, right?" he began in a charming tone. "Must be amazing to work here. This penthouse was featured in magazines, you know." Sophia paused her, scrubbing, and raised one eyebrow, totally unfazed. "To me, a dirty floor is a dirty floor, whether it's in a magazine cover penthouse or a basement in Queens." Ethan stood speechless for a moment, then let out a forced laugh. "Wow, you're direct. I like that." He leaned in a little like he was telling a secret. "Did you know this marble was imported from Italy? It cost a fortune." Sophia glanced at the floor, then looked at him. "Interesting. Want me to scrub it in Italian, or is English fine?" Ethan's eyes widened. For the first time in a long while, someone wasn't just ignoring him. They were matching him word for word. And it didn't stop there. He moved in a bit closer, crossing his arms and casually showing off his expensive watch. "Well, it's not every day you meet someone like me, Sophia." She gave a half smile, dry and ironic. "Oh, sure. A millionaire who doesn't know where his own towels are. Super rare." Ethan burst out laughing, genuinely surprised. Normally that kind of remark would annoy him, but coming from her, it felt different. Sharp, funny, and real. No flattery, just honesty. He decided to go all in. "Listen, tomorrow there's a charity event at a 5-star hotel. Live music, important people, top-shelf champagne." He leaned a bit closer, confident. "I'd love for you to be my date." Sophia put down the cleaning brush, stood up slowly, and looked him straight in the eyes. "Mr. Harper, I'm not an accessory to show off at parties, and expensive champagne doesn't change the fact that at the end of the day, it's still just bubbly water." Ethan stood there, stunned. She had just turned him down without blinking. Sophia picked up the bucket, straightened up, and walked away, calmly, returning to her task as if nothing had happened. Ethan, on the other hand, remained frozen in shock. He wasn't used to hearing the word no, especially not from someone who cleaned his floors. But instead of upsetting him, it lit a spark, a mix of curiosity and fascination. "Who is this woman?" he thought. "And how is it possible that for the first time I want to win someone over and have no idea how to do it?" He smiled to himself, shaking his head. The game had just begun. Ethan spent the whole morning trying to stop thinking about Sophia, but it was no use. Every time he walked by the spotless marble she had cleaned, he remembered that sharp line about champagne being just water with bubbles. No one had ever summed up his life so bluntly and so cleverly. Around 2:00 the afternoon, he found her in the library. Sophia had her back turned, organizing books that probably cost more than her entire salary, but she handled each one like it was from a neighborhood public library. "So," Ethan leaned on the doorframe, trying to sound casual, "do you really think I'm the kind of guy you should stay away from?" Sophia didn't even turn around. "Mr. Harper, you're exactly the kind of man I crossed the street to avoid." Ouch. Ethan chuckled, more surprised than offended. That went straight to the heart. It wasn't meant for the heart, it was for the ego. Sophia finally turned, holding a book on philosophy Ethan had never touched. "The difference is the heart you take care of, the ego you deflate." Ethan shook his head, smiling in spite of himself. "You have an answer for everything, don't you?" "I have an honest answer for everything." That's different. She went back to the books, but Ethan didn't leave. He kept watching how Sophia worked. There was no rush, no sloppiness. Every movement was precise and respectful. It was as if she found dignity in any task. "Why do you avoid me?" he insisted, genuinely curious. Sophia sighed, putting a volume of Shakespeare back on the shelf. "Because men like you think money solves everything. You think you can buy people, feelings, situations." She looked straight at him. "And when you can't, you get confused like something in the world is broken." Ethan stayed quiet for a moment. There was too much truth in those words. What if I'm not like that? "But you are." Sophia gave a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The difference is that now you're curious about someone who isn't impressed by your make-believe world." She picked up the cleaning supply basket and headed to the door. Ethan followed her. "Where are you going now?" "Home. My shift here is over. And are you doing anything after that?" Sophia stopped and looked at him like he was a child, asking obvious questions. "After that? I go to my other job, Mr. Harper. Some people need two to pay the bills." She left, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts. That night, something strange happened. Ethan couldn't concentrate on anything. Not the meeting with the Japanese investors, not the dinner at the most expensive restaurant in town. His mind kept going back to Sophia and her sharp answers. In the following days, he started to notice things he had never seen before. How Sophia always arrived 15 minutes early. How she brought her lunch wrapped in aluminum foil instead of ordering expensive food like the others. How her clothes were simple but always spotless. One morning, Ethan decided to leave home earlier. He didn't admit it to himself, but he wanted to bump into Sophia as she got to work. The coincidence worked. He saw her getting off a bus 3 blocks from the building, walking quickly down the sidewalk. "Sophia," he called, waving. She stopped, clearly not eager to talk. "Mr. Harper, you're out early today. Actually, I was going to get some coffee." He lied shamelessly. "Want a ride?" "Thanks, but I really need the walk." Sophia adjusted the strap on her shoulder. "Poor people's workout, as my mom says." "Your mom?" Ethan was genuinely interested. Sophia hesitated like she had revealed more than she meant to. "She's fine. We need to get going. Mr. Harper, work doesn't wait." But Ethan had caught the hesitation. Something was going on. Over the next few days, he started watching Sophia more closely. He noticed that sometimes she looked far too tired for someone her age. He noticed how often she checked her phone, always with a worried face. And he noticed that sometimes she left work in a rush, like it was an emergency. Intrigued and for the first time genuinely concerned about someone else, Ethan decided to find out what was going on. Not out of nosy curiosity, but because of something he couldn't quite explain. One afternoon, he followed her quietly. He saw Sophia take 2 buses until she arrived at a much simpler neighborhood in Queens. She entered an old but well-kept building. Half an hour later, she came out again, this time wearing a diner uniform. Ethan stood still on the street and processing what he had just seen. 2 jobs. She really did work 2 jobs. But it didn't stop there. The next week, he found out she also went to school at night, business administration at the local university. Ethan was impressed. How could someone work that much and still study? Then he found out about her mother. One Thursday afternoon, Ethan saw Sophia leaving work in a hurry, more worried than usual. He followed her again, this time to a hospital in the Bronx. From a distance, he watched her talk to a nurse, clearly upset. When Sophia left the hospital, she was crying silently. Ethan felt something strange in his chest. He didn't know what it was, but for the first time in his life, he wanted to help someone without expecting anything in return. The next day, he called his personal accountant. "Thomas, I need you to pay some medical bills for me." "Of course, Mr. Harper." "Whose bills?" Ethan gave him Sophia's mother's name and the hospital. He asked for full discretion. No one should know where the money came from. He thought he had done something good, a kind, generous gesture. 2 weeks later, Sophia knocked on his office door. The expression on her face was not good. "We need to talk, Mr. Harper." Ethan looked up from his papers, pretending to be surprised. "Of course. Come in. Have a seat." Sophia closed the door and remained standing, arms crossed. "You paid my mom's bills." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Ethan tried to keep a straight face. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me." Sophia walked closer to the desk. The hospital called and said an anonymous benefactor had paid everything. It took me 2 days of digging to find out it was you. Ethan sighed, giving up the act. So what? You needed help and I helped. The problem, Sophia placed her hands on the desk, leaning forward, is that I didn't ask for your help. And especially, I didn't ask for your pity. It wasn't pity. It was what? She interrupted. Charity. An investment to impress me. What exactly do you want from me, Mr. Harper? Ethan was speechless. For the first time, he didn't know how to respond. I saw you were going through a hard time and you decided to fix my life with money. Sophia stepped back from the desk. Exactly like I said. Men like you do. Sophia, wait. No. She raised her hand. You don't get it, do you? I work hard. I study at night. I take care of my mother. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud I can support my family through my own effort. And you came in and stepped all over that. Ethan stood up, truly confused. I was only trying to help. No, Mr. Harper. You were trying to feel important. You wanted to be the hero who saves the poor girl. Sophia shook her head. That's not help. That's ego pretending to be kindness. For the first time in his life, Ethan Harper felt truly small. Not small in wealth or status, but small as a person. Sophia. He stopped, searching for the right words. I'm sorry. I didn't think that. No, you didn't think at all. But there was something different in Sophia's tone now. Less anger, more disappointment. Do you know the difference between helping and controlling, Mr. Harper? Ethan shook his head. Helping is asking what the person needs. Controlling is deciding for them. They stood in silence for a moment. Ethan, for the first time, found himself forced to take a hard look at his own intentions. If you really want to prove you've changed, Sophia said, heading for the door. Prove it with actions, not with checks. She walked out, leaving Ethan alone with a completely new feeling. The sense that he had truly done something wrong and wanted desperately to make it right. Over the next 3 days, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Sophia's words. Prove it with actions, not with checks. Simple, direct, and devastating. He, who had always solved everything with money, now had to figure out how to be a different kind of man. On Thursday morning, Ethan made a decision his millionaire friends would consider completely crazy. He was going to try living one day like a regular person, like Sophia. He woke up early, sent the driver home, and left the house wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt. No $50,000 watch, no Italian suit, just Ethan Harper trying to be Ethan. The first challenge appeared on the corner, the subway. Ethan looked at the station entrance like an explorer facing an unknown cave. He had never gone down those steps in his life. He followed the crowd, trying to blend in, but was clearly lost. At the turnstile, he froze literally. He stood there holding the subway card he just bought, unsure where to tap it. Hey, tourist, shouted a guy behind him. Just tap the card and go through. Ethan blushed, did as told, and finally made it in. The train was packed. He looked around for an empty seat, but they were all taken, so he stood, gripping a metal rail, swaying awkwardly with every turn. An elderly lady next to him smiled. First time on the subway, dear. Is it that obvious? Ethan asked, embarrassed. Just a little, she chuckled. You look like a penguin trying to fly. When he finally arrived at work, Ethan was sweating, and his hair was a mess. Sophia saw him entering the lobby, and her eyes widened. Mr. Harper, you look different today. I took the subway, he said, as proud as a child who tied his shoes by himself. Sophia blinked a few times, processing what she heard. The subway? You. Yes. It was an experience. Ethan tugged at his wrinkled t-shirt. I nearly missed my stop. A lady called me a penguin, and I still don't understand why everyone runs so much. For the first time, Sophia laughed. A real laugh, not a sarcastic one. Mr. Harper, did you eat breakfast? Actually, no. My cook usually handles that. But today, I wanted to try being normal. Sophia finished for him, still smiling. Something like that. She looked at him for a moment as if trying to solve a puzzle. Come on. I'll show you where to get a decent cup of coffee around here. They walked out together, and Sophia took him to a small, busy diner 2 blocks from the building. The kind of place Ethan had never set foot in before. Plastic chairs, a handwritten menu on a chalkboard, and a Greek owner shouting orders. 2 coffees and 2 blueberry muffins, George, Sophia, my girl. George waved from behind the counter. Who's the guy? A friend who's learning how to live in the real world, she answered, pulling Ethan to a small table in the corner. Ethan looked around, fascinated. The place was full of regular people, office workers, nurses just off their shifts, students with old laptops, real conversations, spontaneous laughter, life happening without a script. So Sophia sat down across from him. You really took the subway. I really did. Ethan smiled. And you know what? It was terrible, but also interesting. Interesting? How? Well, I found out there's a whole world running while I'm stuck in my penthouse. He took the coffee George brought over. Thank you. How much is it? $4.50, George replied. Ethan almost choked. Not because of the price, but because it was probably the cheapest coffee he'd ever had, and it was delicious. Mr. Harper. Sophia was watching him curiously. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you know how to cook? Ethan laughed, embarrassed. I know how to order delivery. That doesn't count. Sophia shook her head. What about doing laundry? I have a laundry service that picks up and drops off. Clean the house while you work there. Sophia rested her chin on her hand. Thoughtful. Mr. Harper, you're basically a big kid with an unlimited credit card. Hey, Ethan protested, but he was laughing. That was harsh. It was honest. Important difference. She finished her coffee. Do you really want to change? I do. Then come to my place tonight. Ethan almost dropped his cup. Your place. I'm going to teach you how to cook. Sophia stood up. And no, it's not a romantic date. It's a basic survival class for grown-ups. At 7 p.m., Ethan stood at Sophia's apartment door in Queens, holding a bouquet of flowers he'd bought on the corner. When she opened the door wearing jeans and a cat print t-shirt, he felt completely out of his element. Flowers. She raised an eyebrow. It's polite to bring flowers when you visit a lady's home. Mr. Harper, this is a cooking class, not a date. But she took the flowers, smiling. Thank you. They're lovely. The apartment was small but cozy. Simple furniture, family photos on the walls, books stacked in every corner. Ethan felt like he'd stepped into a different world. Is your mom doing okay? He asked, noticing the photo of an older woman on the side table. Better, thank you. Sophia put the flowers in a vase. She's at my aunt's tonight. Said she didn't want to get in the way of my mission to civilize the Millionaire. Ethan laughed. She knows about me. My mom knows everything. Moms have superpowers for that kind of thing. Sophia headed to the kitchen. Come on, let's start with something simple. Scrambled eggs. I can fry an egg, Ethan said, confident. Can you? Sure. How many times do you think I've seen it in movies? Sophia crossed her arms, amused. Movies don't count, Mr. Harper. Show me. She handed him a frying pan, oil, and 2 eggs. Ethan looked at the ingredients like they were lab equipment. First, turn on the stove, Sophia instructed. Ethan turned the knob. The flames jumped up too high. Lower, Mr. Harper. The idea is to cook, not set my kitchen on fire. He adjusted the flame, poured in the oil, and waited for it to heat. So far, so good. Then he picked up the first egg. How do I crack this without making a mess? On the edge of the pan, gently, Ethan hit the egg on the pan. Too hard. The shell shattered, falling into the hot oil along with the white and yolk. Oops. Mr. Harper, the egg should come out of the shell, not bring it along for the ride. Sophia was clearly having fun. Let me try again. The second egg was worse. Ethan missed the pan entirely, letting the yolk and white run down the counter. Sophia couldn't hold back her laughter. You're a public hazard in the kitchen. It's not as easy as it looks. Ethan protested, cleaning up the mess. Come here. Sophia came closer, picking up another egg. This is how you do it. She stood beside him, guiding his hand to crack the egg properly. Ethan caught a whiff of her soft perfume, noticed how her fingers were delicate but steady. For a moment, he completely forgot about the egg. Mr. Harper, are you paying attention? Sorry, it's just you smell really nice. Sophia blushed slightly but didn't step away. Focus on the food, Mr. Harper. After half an hour, 3 wasted eggs, and a kitchen that looked like a war zone, Ethan finally managed to make something that vaguely resembled scrambled eggs. Not terrible, Sophia said after tasting it, trying not to make a face. Don't lie to me. You said it's important to be honest. It's pretty bad, she admitted, laughing. But it was your first try. Everyone starts somewhere. They sat at the small kitchen table eating slightly burned eggs and talking. For the first time, Ethan felt relaxed. He didn't need to impress anyone. He didn't need to be Ethan Harper, the millionaire. He could just be himself. Sophia, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you helping me? I mean, after what I did. Because everyone deserves a second chance, she said, looking at him. And because for the first time, I see that you're really trying to change. How do you know, Mr. Harper? A man who's never taken the subway in his life and agrees to be humbled by scrambled eggs is clearly going through a transformation. She smiled. Or having a nervous breakdown. I'm not sure yet. Ethan laughed, and for the first time in weeks, he felt genuinely happy. Thank you for giving me this chance. It's too early for that. Tomorrow we're working on laundry. That might be dangerous. For your clothes, absolutely. They laughed together and Ethan realized something had changed between them. The boss and employee wall was coming down. They were just two people getting to know each other. When Ethan got up to leave, Sophia walked him to the door. Mr. Harper. Yes, my name is Sophia. You can just call me Sophia. Only if you stop calling me Mr. Harper. My name is Ethan. All right, Ethan. They looked at each other for a moment. The air between them felt different. Good. Ethan leaned in slightly, and Sophia didn't pull away. The kiss was gentle, hesitant at first, then more certain. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. Good night, Sophia. Good night, Ethan. Ethan walked down the stairs of the building feeling like a completely different man from the one who had come up. For the first time in his life, he had earned something that truly mattered. 2 days later, while working in the office with a smile he couldn't hide, his phone rang. A text message from a number he knew very well but had hoped never to see again. Hi, love. I'm back in New York. How about dinner tonight? I have news. Kisses, Victoria. Ethan stared at the message from Victoria Langley for at least 5 minutes, as if the words might magically change on the screen. They didn't. His ex-girlfriend was back, and he knew exactly what that meant. Trouble. Victoria had a special talent for showing up at the worst possible times, like a sudden tropical storm that destroys everything in its path. They had broken up 8 months ago after 2 years in a relationship that felt more like a business deal between two fortunes. Ethan was trying to decide whether to reply or pretend his phone had vanished into space when he heard a knock on the office door. Come in, he said, quickly putting the phone away. Sophia walked in with her cleaning supplies basket, smiling in that way that made Ethan's heart race since their kiss 2 days ago. Good afternoon, Ethan. How are the scrambled eggs? Did you manage to cook without setting the kitchen on fire? Actually, I tried again last night. He smiled back. Only called the fire department once, so I think I'm getting the better. Sophia laughed, shaking her head. You're impossible. She began organizing the papers on his desk. But at least you're trying. It was in these moments that Ethan realized how much his life had changed. 2 weeks ago, he barely noticed Sophia. Now she was the best part of his day. Sophia, would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow? Somewhere simple. No fancy champagne or tuxedo waiters. You know a place like that. She teased. Well, George recommended a pizza place in Brooklyn. Said they make the best homemade pizza in town. George, from the diner. Sophia looked genuinely surprised. You went back there every day this week. Ethan admitted a little embarrassed. The coffee is really good, and he taught me a few Greek phrases. Sophia gave him a look. Ethan couldn't quite read. Maybe affection. All right, but I'm paying for my half. Sophia, don't argue. It's half or I'm not going. Ethan was about to respond when he heard the sound of high heels in the hallway. Expensive ones, clicking with the confidence of someone who always knows where she's going. He knew that sound. The door opened without warning, and Victoria Langley walked in like she owned the place. Perfectly styled blonde hair, a red dress that cost more than Sophia's monthly salary, and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Ethan, darling. She walked straight toward him, completely ignoring Sophia. You didn't answer my message. I thought maybe you were just too busy to check your phone. Ethan stood up automatically, more out of reflex than courtesy. Victoria, I wasn't expecting you here. Surprises are more fun, don't you think? Victoria finally noticed Sophia, who had stopped organizing papers and was watching them with quiet curiosity. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you had company." The way she said company made Ethan shrink a little inside. "Victoria. This is Sophia." "Sophia. Victoria." Sophia stepped forward and offered her hand. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Langley." Victoria looked at the extended hand like it was a poisonous snake, but gave it a quick shake. "Pleasure's mine, dear." Her smile was sharp as a blade. "You must be new here. I don't remember seeing you around during my past visits to Ethan." "I've been working here for a few weeks," Sophia answered simply. "Ah, I see." Victoria glanced around as if inspecting the decor. "Ethan has always been generous with the staff. It's admirable how much he cares for the less fortunate." The condescending tone made Ethan shift uncomfortably in his seat. Sophia, however, kept her expression neutral. "It's true. Has been teaching me a lot about generosity," Sophia said while putting away the cleaning supplies. "I'll leave you two to talk. See you later, Ethan." She walked out, closing the door gently behind her. Ethan watched her go with the strange feeling that he had just lost something important. So Victoria sat in the chair across from his desk, crossing her legs in a practiced motion. "She seems interesting." "Victoria, why are you here?" "Straight to the point." She laughed. A crystalline sound that used to charm him but now felt fake. "I was in Paris closing a few deals with the gallery when I realized how much I missed you." Ethan didn't buy it. Victoria Langley never missed anyone or anything unless it served her interests. 8 months is a long time to miss someone. "Oh, come on. You know how it is. I needed space. You needed space." She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. "But now, I'm back, and I think we've both grown. Maybe it's time to try again." "Victoria, remember the Blackstone party last week?" She interrupted. "Jennifer told me you didn't even show up. That's not like you. And the Harrison Foundation charity dinner, you skipped that too." Ethan had completely forgotten those social events. Lately, his idea of fun had become drinking cheap coffee with George and learning not to burn eggs. "I've been busy with what?" Victoria glanced around again. "Ethan, you can't seriously be thinking about, well, anything with that girl." "What girl?" "The employee," she said, like referring to something unpleasant. "I saw the way you looked at her. Look, I get it. Sometimes we need a distraction, something outside our world. But you're not seriously considering this as something real, are you?" Ethan felt a wave of anger rise in his chest. "What exactly are you implying, Ethan?" "Really?" Victoria laughed as if Head told a joke. "She cleans your house. You have nothing in common. What would you even talk about over dinner? Cleaning supplies. You don't know her. I don't need to." Victoria stood and walked around the desk to stand closer to him. "I know you. I know our world. Remember how good we were together? The trips, the parties, the deals we closed at social events." She placed a hand on his shoulder, a familiar gesture that used to comfort him. "Victoria, there's an art exhibit opening tonight at the Met. Everyone who matters will be there." She leaned in, whispering in his ear. "We can show up together. Let people know we're back, just like the old times." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. The old times. Parties full of people he barely knew. Empty conversations about money and status. Relationships built on appearances. A month ago, that had been his whole life. "I don't know if that's a good idea." "Of course it is." Victoria smiled confident. "Wear your black tux. The Armani one you wore to last year's gala. I'll pick you up at 8. She walked to the door, paused, and looked back. "And Ethan, maybe it's best not to mention your experimental phase to our friends. They wouldn't understand." After she left, Ethan remained alone in his office, feeling like two worlds were colliding in his mind. On one side, Victoria and everything she represented, his past, his social circle, the life he had always known. On the other, Sophia and the possibility of being someone different, someone better. An hour later he found Sophia cleaning the reception windows. "She seems interesting," Sophia said without looking at him. "Sophia, about what she said. You don't have to explain anything." She dipped the cloth into the cleaning solution. "Everyone has a past, but that's not it. Victoria and I broke up months ago, and now she's back." Sophia finally looked at him. "It happens." Ethan noticed something different in her tone, more distant, more formal. "Sophia, what's happening between us?" "Ethan," she sighed. "Look, I really liked getting to know you better. I liked seeing that you could be different from what I imagined. But maybe we're fooling ourselves. What do you mean? We come from completely different worlds. Your ex made that pretty clear. She went back to cleaning the glass, avoiding his gaze. And maybe she's right. Don't say that. Ethan, you go to parties that cost more than my yearly salary. You have friends who probably don't even know people like me exist. She stopped cleaning. I can't compete with that. You don't have to compete. Yes, I do. She stepped back when he tried to get closer. And the truth is, you'll have to choose too. You can't live in both worlds forever. Sophia finished putting away the cleaning supplies and headed to the elevator. Sophia, wait. Good luck at the exhibit tonight, Ethan. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. The elevator doors closed, and Ethan was left alone in the reception area, realizing he had just lost something far more valuable than any piece of art he'd see that night. Over the next 3 days, Ethan Harper found out what it really meant to miss someone. It wasn't like missing an expensive item he'd lost or a trip that got canceled. It was a physical feeling, like a part of him had just disappeared. Sophia avoided crossing paths with him in the hallways. When they did run into each other by chance, she greeted him politely, "Good morning, Mr. Harper," and moved on like he was just another fancy piece of furniture in the penthouse. That return to formal treatment hurt more than anything she could have said. Ethan had gone to the exhibit at the Metropolitan with Victoria, as promised. He spent 3 hours listening to pretentious comments about art, pretending to care about conversations on investments in French vineyards, and smiling for photos that would show up in the social section of the papers. The next day, in the middle of the party, while Victoria chatted with a group of friends about her latest purchase on Fifth Avenue, Ethan found himself wondering how Sophia would react in that environment. She'd probably make a clever comment about how people spent more on dinner than some families did in an entire month. "Ethan, darling, are you listening?" Victoria touched his arm, pulling him back to reality. "Sorry, I was thinking about work." "Work? At a party." She laughed, shaking her head. "You really need to learn how to relax again." But Ethan couldn't relax. He couldn't pretend he was having fun. He couldn't pretend that any of this still made sense to him. On the 4th morning, without a real conversation with Sophia, Ethan was in his office trying to focus on financial reports when Victoria showed up again. This time she brought 2 friends, Jennifer Morrison and Amanda Sterling, 2 heiresses Ethan had known since his teenage years. "Surprise." Victoria entered beaming. "I brought company for lunch." Ethan stood up, forcing a polite smile. "Jennifer, Amanda, how are you?" "Marvelous," Jennifer replied, kissing the air near his cheek. "Victoria told us about the 2 of you. We're so happy about the 2 of us." Ethan looked at Victoria, confused. "Oh, Ethan, don't be modest." Amanda sat down without being invited. "Everyone's talking to 2 at the exhibit yesterday." "What a beautiful couple you make." Ethan felt a heaviness in his stomach. There was nothing official between him and Victoria, but he knew how the social game worked. Appearances mattered more than truth, and showing up together in public meant a lot more than he had intended. "Actually," he began to say, but Victoria interrupted. "Ethan's always been shy about these things." She laughed, grabbing his arm possessively. "But there's no denying it, darling. The photos were in the paper this morning." She showed him her phone, and there they were. Ethan and Victoria smiling for the cameras, her elegantly hanging on his arm. The headline read, "The Golden Couple is Back. Ethan Harper and Victoria Langley rekindle the romance. Isn't it lovely?" Jennifer clapped her hands. "You 2 are perfect for each other." At that moment, Ethan heard a soft knock on the door. Sophia entered with a tray of coffee, clearly not expecting visitors. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you had company," she said, keeping her eyes down. "No, it's fine. Come in," Ethan quickly said. Victoria and her friends looked at Sophia like she was some curious object that had appeared out of nowhere. "Oh, it's the cleaning lady," Amanda said with fake sweetness. "How are you, dear?" "I'm well, thank you," Sophia replied, placing the cups on the table with professional care. "Victoria told us about your situation." Jennifer tilted her head with pity. "It must be so hard for you working so much to support your family." Ethan saw Sophia's jaw tighten slightly, but she kept a neutral expression. "I manage just fine. Thank you for your concern." "Of course you do, dear." Victoria smiled condescendingly. "And it's so admirable how Ethan cares about the staff. He's always had such a generous heart." The word staff hit like a slap. Ethan saw Sophia tense up, but she quietly finished serving the coffee. "By the way, Amanda went on as if Sophia were just part of the furniture. Ethan, did you see the Whites are selling their house in the Hamptons? It would be perfect for you two as a summer home. Summer home? Ethan repeated, still processing the moment. For after the wedding, obviously. Jennifer laughed. No point in pretending you're not thinking about it. You two were always meant for each other. Ethan looked at Sophia, who had finished serving the coffee and was quietly heading to the door. Their eyes met for a split second and he saw something that crushed him. Resignation. Excuse me, Sophia said softly, leaving the room. The three women kept chatting about weddings, houses, and the future, but Ethan no longer heard any of it. His mind was completely focused on the look he had seen on Sophia's face. It was like she had given up on any hope she might have had for them. Ethan. Victoria touched his hand. Are you okay? You seem distant. He looked at her, then at Jennifer and Amanda, then at the newspaper photos, showing a life he no longer wanted. Actually, I'm not okay. Ethan stood up abruptly. And I need to make something clear. What is it, dear? Victoria. We're not together, he said plainly, his voice echoing through the quiet office. The three women stared at him as if he had just announced he was moving to Mars. What do you mean? Amanda blinked, confused. We're not dating. We're not getting back together. We're not planning a wedding or buying houses, Ethan continued, feeling strangely free with every word. We went to one party together. That's it. Victoria stood up, her face red with embarrassment. Ethan, don't be ridiculous. You're having some kind of moment. But I'm not having a moment. He cut her off. I'm being honest for the first time in months. Honest about what? Jennifer asked. Ethan looked at the door. Sophia had walked through and made the most important decision of his life. About being in love with someone else. The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria went pale, then red, then pale again. You're talking about the employee, she asked in disbelief. I'm talking about Sophia. Ethan corrected her. And she has a name. Ethan Harper. You've completely lost your mind. Victoria exploded. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious, he said, heading for the door. And now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go after the woman I love. If you walk out that door right now, Victoria shouted after him. Everyone's going to know about this. It'll be in all the papers tomorrow. Your reputation will be ruined. Ethan stopped at the door and looked back. Victoria, my reputation was already ruined. I just didn't know it until I met someone who showed me who I could really be. He walked out, leaving three stunned women behind. Ethan searched the building for Sophia. He finally found her on the rooftop looking out over the city through the thick glass. Sophia. She turned and he saw that she had been crying. Ethan, you don't have to explain. I understand the situation. No, you don't, he said, stepping closer. I just ended things with Victoria in front of her friends. Very publicly and very clearly. Sophia blinked, surprised. You did what? I told them I'm in love with you. Ethan smiled, feeling lighter than he had in years, and that I don't care about newspapers, gossip, or what anyone has to say about it. Ethan. She shook her head. You don't know what you're doing. Tomorrow, you'll regret it. I won't regret it. He took her hands in his. Sophia, these past few weeks you've shown me there's a different way to live. You showed me I can be a better person. But your world, my world can go to hell. He laughed. Sorry for the language, but it's true. I want to build a new world with you. Sophia looked at him for a long moment, and he could see the battle happening behind her eyes. Ethan, I'm graduating in 2 months, she said at last. And that's a bad thing. It's just I can't get involved with someone who's still figuring out who they are. She sighed. You just got out of a 2-year relationship. You had a public argument with your ex-girlfriend. Your whole social circle is probably talking about you right now. Ethan realized where she was going with this. You think I'm being impulsive. I think you're going through a very intense transition, Sophia said gently, holding his hands. And I can't be part of your confusion, Ethan. Not right now. Sophia, please. I need to focus on my graduation, on my future. She stepped back softly, and you need to be sure of who you really want to be on your own. Ethan felt the world fall apart around him, but at the same time he understood the wisdom in her words. How long? He asked. I don't know. She gave a sad smile, Maybe when you're sure you can live without needing anyone's approval, we can try again." She walked to the door, but stopped before leaving. "And Ethan, thank you for standing up for me downstairs. That meant a lot to me." After she left, Ethan stayed alone on the terrace, looking out at a city that suddenly felt different from how it looked that morning. He was sure his phone was already buzzing with calls from shocked friends, that tomorrow's newspapers would be ruthless, that his social life would never be the same again, and for the first time in his life, he didn't care at all. The following days were exactly as Ethan had expected, only worse. His phone wouldn't stop ringing, but he refused to answer. The society pages had a field day with the story of the scandalous breakup between him and Victoria Langley. Harper shocks by trading heiress for employee. One headline read, "The end of a fairy tale." Another one claimed, "Ethan threw every paper in the trash without reading the full articles." For the first time in his life, he didn't care what people were writing about him. What really bothered him was Sophia's absence. She had asked for a temporary transfer to work on another floor of the building, saying it would be more professional to keep some distance until things settled down. Ethan tried to respect the space she asked for, but it was harder than he imagined. He woke up thinking about her, spent the day wondering how she was doing, and fell asleep remembering how she laughed at his kitchen disasters. It was during one of those sleepless nights that Ethan had an idea. If Sophia wanted him to prove who he really was, that's exactly what he would do. But not with words or romantic gestures, with real action. The next morning he called his personal attorney. "Robert, I need to set up a foundation." "What kind of foundation, Mr. Harper?" "To help low-income college students. I want to offer scholarships, support for family medical expenses, mentoring programs. Whatever it takes." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "May I ask what led to this decision?" Ethan smiled to himself. "Let's just say I met someone who showed me the real value of education and hard work." For the next 2 weeks, Ethan threw himself into the project like he had never committed to anything before. He spent days studying other foundations, consulting education experts, and setting scholarship criteria. He wanted it to be perfect. He wanted it to truly change lives. Most of all, he wanted to do it in secret until everything was ready. Meanwhile, Sophia was going through the strangest days since Shed started working at the company. Not seeing Ethan every day left a space she hadn't expected to feel. Working on the 15th floor, taking care of the manager's offices, she found herself thinking about him more than she wanted to admit. How was he handling the scandal in the news? Was he regretting his impulsive decision to break up with Victoria so publicly? "Sophia, are you okay?" asked Sarah, one of the receptionists. "You seem a bit distracted these days." "I'm fine." Sophia lied, forcing a smile. "Just focused on school. Graduation's coming up." "Oh, that's right. How much longer?" 6 weeks. 6 weeks? That felt like forever. And at the same time, like nothing. Sophia had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that it was so close, she felt a strange kind of anxiety. Part of her knew it was because of Ethan. They had drifted apart just when things were starting to get interesting between them. "Are you having a graduation party?" Sarah asked. "I don't have money for a party." Sophia laughed. "I'm just going to graduate, take a picture with my mom, and that's it." Simplicity is the key to happiness, but even trying to keep her good mood, Sophia couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. Was he okay? Had he gone back to his world of parties and shallow living? The answer came unexpectedly. 3 days later, Sophia was having lunch at George Diner when she overheard 2 women talking at the next table. "Did you see the pictures of Ethan Harper at the Sterling Industries party last night?" One of them said. Sophia tried not to listen, but it was impossible. "I did. He looked amazing as always, and he was with that gorgeous brunette, Amanda Sterling. Looks like he got over that whole thing with the ex-girlfriend and the employee pretty fast." Of course, he did. Men like him don't stay single for long. Sophia felt her stomach tighten. She grabbed her phone and against her better judgment looked up news about Ethan Harper. It didn't take long to find something. There he was, looking sharp as ever, smiling for the cameras next to Amanda Sterling at corporate event. The photo had been taken the night before. Sophia stared at the image for a long time. Ethan looked exactly the same. Expensive suit, shiny watch, perfect smile for the cameras, as if nothing had changed. Of course, she thought he went back to his world. It was only a matter of time. She put her phone away, completely lost her appetite, and went back to work with a hollow feeling in her chest she tried to ignore. What Sophia didn't know was that Ethan had only gone to that party because his lawyer insisted it would be important for networking for the foundation. Head spent the whole evening bored, counting the minutes until he could leave, and had posed for exactly 3 photos before heading out early. Amanda Sterling had tried to flirt with him all night, but Ethan barely noticed. His mind was completely occupied with the foundation details and missing Sophia. The next morning, Ethan was in his office reviewing the final documents for the foundation when his assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Harper, Mr. Robert Ellis is here." The lawyer walked in with a folder full of papers and a satisfied smile. "Ethan, I've got great news. The Harper Foundation for Education is now officially established. All documents are approved, the initial funds have been transferred, and we can start operating next week." Ethan felt a wave of satisfaction like he had never felt before. It wasn't the satisfaction of closing a big deal or buying something expensive. It was something much deeper. "Great. What about the scholarship criteria?" "Exactly as you requested. Low-income college students with good academic performance who also work to pay for their education. Priority goes to those supporting their families as well." Ethan nodded. Those criteria described Sophia perfectly, although he hadn't mentioned that to the lawyer. "And the anonymity guaranteed, at least for now. The scholarships will be awarded in the foundation's name, with no mention of you as the founder. If you want to make it public later, we can do an official announcement. For now, keep it private." Ethan placed the papers in a drawer. "And Robert, I want the first scholarship to go to a specific student." Over the next few days, Ethan felt more motivated than he had in years. He was finally doing something that mattered, something that could truly change people's lives. At the same time, he missed Sophia constantly. He wanted to tell her about the foundation. He wanted to see her reaction, to share this accomplishment with someone who would really understand what it meant. But he had promised to give her the space she asked for, and if he had learned anything from her, it was how important it was to keep your word. Sophia, meanwhile, was deep in her final preparations for graduation. Between work, studying for her last exams, and taking care of her mother, she barely had time to breathe. But whenever she saw a photo of Ethan in the papers or heard someone mention him, she felt a tug in her heart. Part of her was hoping, well, she didn't even know what exactly. Maybe a sign that he still thought about her. But the weeks passed and nothing happened. "It's better this way," she told herself. He went back to his world. "I'm focused on my future. Things are back to normal," except nothing felt normal. George Diner didn't have the same charm without Ethan asking questions about the menu. The scrambled eggs she made at home reminded her of the laughs they shared in her kitchen. Even cleaning the company's offices had lost part of its meaning. One morning, 5 weeks before graduation, Sophia got an unexpected call from the university's administrative office. "Miss Bennett, we have some good news for you. You've been awarded a scholarship that will cover all your expenses for the final semester, including the graduation ceremony." Sophia almost dropped the phone. "What? I never applied for any scholarship. The Harper Foundation for Education selected you based on your academic performance and financial situation. Congratulations." Sophia was silent for a long moment. Harper Foundation. Ethan's last name. Could it be? "Can I ask who's behind the foundation?" she asked. "That information is confidential, miss. I can only tell you it's a serious organization focused on helping students like you." After hanging up, Sophia stood frozen in the middle of the room, trying to process what she had just heard. It could be a coincidence. Harper was a common last name, but deep down she knew it wasn't. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled for real. 3 days after the scholarship news, Sophia was still processing it. Every time she thought of the Harper Foundation, she felt a strange mix of hope and doubt. Could Ethan really have started a foundation? Or was this just another way to control her life with money like he had done with her mother's medical bills? She decided not to get her hopes up. After all, the photos in the papers clearly showed him back in the world of parties and socialites. The scholarship might just be a coincidence in names. "Sophia, you look like someone who just won the lottery but isn't sure if the ticket's real," George said at the diner, handing her the usual cup of coffee. "That's actually a pretty accurate description." Sophia chuckled, stirring in the sugar thoughtfully. "Sometimes good things in life come with fine print, or sometimes we just make things more complicated than they need to be," George said while wiping down the counter. "You got a scholarship because you earned it, kid. Stop looking for problems where there aren't any." Sophia smiled. George had a way of making life's most complicated moments feel simple. Meanwhile, across town, Ethan was having the most intense week of his life. The foundation was up and running, but he wanted to do something special for Sophia before graduation. Not just tell her about the foundation, but show her that his transformation was real and lasting. He spent 3 nights barely sleeping, planning every detail. He wanted it to be perfect. Mr. Harper and his assistant stepped into the office. "The designer you hired is here to discuss the dress details. Send him in." Marcus Delraw was one of the most respected designers in New York, known for creating unique dresses for special occasions. "Mr. Harper, I understand you're looking for something special for a young woman's graduation," Marcus said, checking his notes. "Do you have any color or style preferences?" Ethan thought of Sophia, her simple elegance, how beautiful she looked without any expensive touches. Something that highlights her natural beauty. Nothing flashy or over the top. She's not the kind who likes being the center of attention. "Understood. And the budget?" "There's no limit, but I wanted to feel special, not expensive. You know what I mean." Marcus smiled perfectly. "I'll create something one of a kind with understated elegance." Over the next few days, Ethan also worked on a letter. He wrote, ripped up, and rewrote at least 15 versions. How do you put into words everything that had changed in your life? How do you explain that someone had inspired you to become a better person? He finally managed to write something that felt sincere. "Sophia, you taught me that a person's worth isn't in what they own, but in who they are. You taught me that real generosity doesn't come from writing checks, but from actions. And more than anything, you taught me that true love isn't about impressing someone. It's about becoming someone worthy of being loved. The foundation is just the beginning. I want to spend the rest of my life proving you were right about me being able to change." Ethan placed the letter along with the foundation documents. Everything would be delivered with the dress on graduation day. Sophia, meanwhile, was finishing her final days at college with mixed emotions. On one hand, she was proud to finally be earning the degree she had dreamed about for so long. On the other, she felt like something important was missing. "Are you bringing someone to the ceremony?" her best friend Jessica asked during a break between classes. "Just my mom," Sophia said while organizing her books in her backpack. "She can barely walk, but she told me she wouldn't miss my graduation, even if she had to come in a wheelchair." "And what about that rich guy you mentioned a few times, Ethan?" Sophia made a face. "That was just a phase. He went back to his little world." "Are you sure? Because the way you talk about him, it sounds like you still Jessica. Some fairy tales don't have happy endings." Sophia cut her off, but without bitterness. "And that's okay. Real life is better than fairy tales." Anyway, on Friday morning, 1 week before graduation, Sophia was getting ready to leave for work when someone rang the doorbell. It was a delivery person with a large, elegant box. "Delivery for Sophia Bennett." "I didn't order anything." She checked the address. "Are you sure it's for me? Name and address match, ma'am. And it's already paid for." Sophia signed for it, puzzled. She took the box inside and opened it carefully. Inside was a dress that literally left her speechless. It was beautiful in a way she had never seen before. Not flashy or covered in sparkles. It was elegant, sophisticated in emerald green that made her eyes stand out. The fabric was soft and flowing, and even without trying it on, she knew it would fit perfectly. Along with the dress was an envelope. Sophia opened it with trembling hands and found a letter from Ethan along with all the documents from the Harper Foundation for Education. She read the letter 3 times before she could fully grasp what it meant. Ethan hadn't gone back to his old world. He had created a foundation. He had spent weeks working in secret to help students like her, and he had written one of the most beautiful letters she had ever read. For a moment, Sophia felt a wave of emotion so strong she could barely breathe. Then reality set in. Why now? Why, just when she was starting to move on, accepting that they came from different worlds, did he show up with such a beautiful gesture? Sophia looked at the dress, then at the letter, then at the foundation documents. It was beautiful. It was generous. It was exactly the kind of thing that showed Ethan had truly changed. But it was also frightening. My goodness, Sophia, what dress is that? Her mother came into the room, leaning on her cane. Where did that come from? From Ethan. Sophia held the letter to her chest. Mom, he created a foundation to help students. The scholarship I got, it came from him. Her mother sat on the couch studying her daughter's face. And how do you feel about that? Confused. Sophia sat down next to her. Mom, what if he's doing this out of guilt? What if it's just an elaborate way to say goodbye gracefully? Or what if it's because he really has changed and he's in love with you? Sophia looked at the dress again. It was too perfect to be a goodbye. It had been chosen with so much care, so much thought, but at the same time it was too expensive for her to accept easily. Mom, I don't know if I can wear this, she sighed. It's too much. Too much what? Too beautiful, too expensive, too perfect. Her mother chuckled softly. Sophia, my daughter, sometimes you make simple things complicated. The young man gave you a lovely gift for a special occasion. If you like him, and from what I see, you do accept the gift. But what if it's a goodbye, and what if it's not? Sophia sat in silence, looking at the letter in her hands. Are you going to wear the dress? Her mother asked gently. I don't know. Sophia folded the letter carefully. I need to think. That night, Sophia stayed up late, staring at the dress hanging in her closet and rereading Ethan's letter. Part of her wanted to believe it was real, that he had changed, that the foundation was sincere, that the dress was a declaration of love. Another part was afraid to be fooled again, afraid to find out it was just another attempt to impress her with money. The next morning, she did what she always did when she felt confused. She went to work, but when she got to the office, she found out from Sarah at the front desk that Ethan had left on a business trip and wouldn't be back until after graduation. Sophia's heart sank. He had sent the dress and disappeared. He wasn't going to be at her graduation. He wouldn't be there to explain the letter, to talk about the foundation, to make his intentions clear. That afternoon, alone at home, Sophia looked at the dress one more time and finally understood what it meant. It wasn't a declaration of love. It was a graceful goodbye. Ethan had created the foundation out of guilt, sent the dress as one final kind gesture, and now he was stepping away for good. It was beautiful, generous, and final. Sophia sat on her bed and, for the first time since she had met Ethan Harper, she truly cried. Graduation night came faster than Sophia expected. She woke up that Saturday morning with a strange mix of excitement and sadness. It was the day she had dreamed about for 4 years, but she didn't feel the way she thought she would. Sophia, are you going to wear the green dress? Her mother asked over breakfast, trying to sound casual. I don't know, Mom. Sophia moved the scrambled eggs around on her plate without much appetite. Maybe I should just wear something I already have. Sweetheart, you spent 4 years working hard to get to this day. You deserve to wear something special. Sophia knew her mother was right, but wearing Ethan's dress felt like admitting something she wasn't ready to admit, that she still had hope. Around 3:00 the afternoon, she started getting ready. She took a long shower, did her nails, tried several hairstyles. Clearly, she was putting off the decision about the dress. Finally, at 5, she stood in front of her closet, staring at her 2 options: a simple black dress she had bought the year before, or the emerald green one Ethan had picked out for her. Sophia, her mom called from the next room. If you don't decide soon, well, be late. All right, she called back, grabbing the green dress. If this was goodbye, at least it would be a memorable one. When she looked at herself in the mirror after getting dressed, Sophia had to admit it. Ethan had good taste. The dress transformed her without changing her. It brought out her natural beauty without being too much, as if it had been made just for her, which most likely it had. Oh my goodness, Sophia! Her mother appeared in the doorway, leaning on her cane with tears in her eyes. You look beautiful. Thank you, Mom. Sophia helped her sit on the bed. How are you feeling? Are you sure you can go? Sweetheart, I wouldn't miss your graduation for anything, even if I had to borrow a wheelchair. They laughed together, and for the first time that day, Sophia felt genuinely happy. The graduation ceremony was being held at the Grand Ballroom at the Astoria Hotel, right in the heart of Manhattan. It was an elegant space with crystal chandeliers and classic decor, but not overly flashy. When Sophia and her mother arrived, the room was already full of graduates and their families. The celebratory energy in the air was contagious. Sophia, Jessica ran up to her, looking lovely in a light pink dress. You look amazing. Where did you get that dress? It's a long story. Sophia smiled, helping her mother find a seat near the stage. Well, whoever gave it to you has great taste. The ceremony began promptly at 7. Sophia listened to the speeches from the dean, the professors, the honored guests, but her mind was partly elsewhere. She kept glancing toward the entrance, a small part of her still hoping Ethan would show up. When it was time to receive her diploma, Sophia walked onto the stage with her heart pounding. Not because of nerves, but because she realized this was really happening. After so many years of working by day and studying at night, she was finally graduating. Sophia Charlotte Bennett, bachelor's degree in business administration with honors, the dean announced. The room applauded, and Sophia heard her mother cheering from the middle of the audience. She smiled, waved, and for the first time in weeks, she felt completely present in the moment. After the formal ceremony, the social part began. Music, dancing, families chatting, photos with classmates. Sophia tried to enjoy herself, but couldn't stop noticing all the couples around her. Jessica danced with her boyfriend of 2 years. Robert, one of her classmates, was with the girlfriend who had supported him through all of college. Even Kevin, the shyest guy in their group, was with a girl who looked at him like he was the most interesting man in the world. Why, the long face at your own graduation party. Jessica appeared beside her out of breath from dancing. I don't have a long face. Sophia forced a smile. I'm just reflective. You're thinking about Ethan. I'm thinking about a lot of things. Jessica studied her for a moment. You know, Sophia, sometimes people do things for reasons we don't expect. What do you mean? Maybe the dress isn't a goodbye. Maybe it's an invitation. Before Sophia could respond, the music suddenly stopped. There was a murmur across the room as everyone turned toward the entrance. Sophia followed their gaze and felt her heart stop. Ethan Harper was standing at the ballroom entrance wearing the most elegant suit she had ever seen. It wasn't flashy. It was simply perfect. He was looking directly at her, ignoring the other 300 people in the room. Oh my goodness, Jessica whispered beside her. Is that him? Sophia couldn't answer. She stood frozen, watching as Ethan slowly walked across the room toward her. People instinctively moved aside, creating a path, but his eyes never left hers. When he got close enough for her to clearly see his eyes, Ethan smiled. Not the practiced smile shed seen in newspaper photos, but the real one, the one she had come to love. Hi, Sophia, he said simply. Hi, Ethan. She managed to reply, still in shock. I thought you were traveling. I was. I got back this afternoon. He looked around the hall, then back at her. I wouldn't miss your graduation for anything in the world. The whole room was watching now, but neither Sophia nor Ethan seemed to notice. You look beautiful, Ethan said, and there was something different in his voice, a kind of certainty she had never heard before. Thanks for the dress. Sophia TBS tried to keep her voice steady. It was way too pretty to turn down. Sophia, I need to say a few things. Ethan stepped closer in front of everyone because I want the whole world to know. Ethan, now let me speak. He took a deep breath and Sophia noticed he was nervous. 4 months ago, I was completely lost. Wealthy, yes. Successful in business, yes. Stop. But completely empty inside. People nearby started moving a little closer, curious, but still keeping a respectful distance. Then you came into my life and changed everything. Ethan continued, his voice growing steadier. You taught me that money doesn't buy character. You showed me that true generosity comes from the heart, not the wallet. And you taught me that real love means becoming a better person, not trying to impress someone. Sophia felt tears filling her eyes. The foundation was only the beginning. Sophia, I want to spend the rest of my life proving you were right about me, that I can be better. Ethan held her hands. I want to build a life with meaning. I want to help people the way you help me. And most of all, I want to do all of it with you by my side. The room had gone completely silent now. Even the music had stopped. To everyone's surprise, especially Sophia's, Ethan got down on one knee right in the middle of the room. Sophia, Charlotte Bennett, he said, taking a small box from his pocket. Will you marry me? The hall burst into whispers of surprise and emotion. Sophia heard her mother crying with joy somewhere in the crowd. She heard Jessica squeal with excitement right beside her, but all she could see were Ethan's eyes, waiting for her answer. Ethan, she began, and her voice cracked. I know it's crazy to ask you this here and now on your graduation day, he said quickly, but I've spent weeks trying to plan the perfect moment. And then I realized any moment with you is perfect. Sophia looked at him on his knee in front of her, at the simple but beautiful ring in the box, at the room full of people waiting for her answer. She thought about the past few months, about the changes she had seen in Ethan, about the foundation he had created, the dress he had picked so thoughtfully, the letter that showed a genuine transformation, and most of all, she thought about how much she had missed him in these last few weeks. "Get up," she said at last. Ethan looked confused but stood up. "People are staring, and you know how much I hate being the center of attention." Sophia smiled through her tears. "So yes, Ethan Harper," she said loud enough for the whole room to hear. "I'll marry you." The room erupted into applause and cheers. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her as 300 people celebrated with them. When they finally pulled apart, both were laughing and crying at the same time. "I can't believe you did this." Sophia shook her head. "At my graduation, in front of everyone. I wanted them to know I'm not playing around," Ethan said, cupping her face in his hands. "That this is real. It's forever." "Are you sure?" she asked. "Because from now on, there's no going back to your old life." "My old life?" Ethan smiled. "Sophia, my life now is wherever you are." And finally, for the first time in months, Sophia believed him completely. The minutes after Sophia's yes were a blur of emotion, hugs, and congratulations. Jessica nearly knocked her over with excitement. Her mother was laughing and crying at the same times and co-workers she barely knew came over with genuine smiles to congratulate her. "I can't believe you actually did this here," Sophia kept saying to Ethan, shaking her head as she admired the ring on her finger. "At my graduation in front of half the world. I wanted everyone to know I'm serious," Ethan said, gently fixing a lock of her hair that had come loose in all the excitement. "Besides, you say you hate being the center of attention. But look at you now, glowing. Are you saying I enjoy drama, Mr. Harper?" "I'm saying you look radiant, future Mrs. Harper." Sophia laughed, feeling a lightness she hadn't felt in months. "Future Mrs. Harper, I'm still getting used to how that sounds." "We've got time," Ethan said, holding her hand. "A whole lifetime." The DJ, sensing the moment, put on a slow, romantic song. People in the hall naturally made room in the center, creating an impromptu dance floor. "Would you like to dance with your fiancé?" Ethan asked, offering his hand. "My fiancé?" Sophia repeated the word, trying out how it sounded. "That's going to take a while to get used to." They moved to the center of the room, and Ethan gently pulled her into his arms. Sophia rested her head on his shoulder, finally letting herself relax completely. "You know," she whispered in his ear, "I never imagined my graduation night would end with a proposal, and I never imagined I'd propose to someone who first turned me down over expensive champagne. You remember that." Sophia lifted her head to look at him. "I remember every word you said to me from the very first day," Ethan said, spinning her gently, "especially the part about fizzy water. In my defense, it's still just fizzy water. In my defense, you were absolutely right." They laughed together, dancing as if they were the only two people in the room. Other couples joined in around them, but Sophia hardly noticed. For the first time in months, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. "Ethan," she said after a few minutes, "can I ask you something serious?" "Of course. Are you absolutely sure this is what you want?" She stopped dancing for a moment because after today, there's no going back. Everyone's going to know, it'll be in the papers tomorrow. Your high society friends will talk about this for months. Ethan gently held her face in his hands. "Sophia, 6 months ago, I cared about what the papers said about me. Today, the only opinion that matters to me is yours. And what if you get tired of living like regular people?" she pressed. "What if you start missing the parties, the fancy dinners, that glamorous life? You want the truth." Ethan smiled. "The last time I had real fun at a party was in your kitchen, eating burnt eggs and laughing at your jokes about my cooking disasters. Those eggs really were awful. They were terrible, but they were the best eggs I've ever had." Sophia laughed, finally allowing herself to believe that this might actually be real and lasting. "All right, Ethan Harper." She moved in closer to him. "If you're sure, then I am too." "I'm sure." "Then let's do this, right?" she said with a playful smile. "But first, just so you know, I'm going to want a simple ceremony. No 500 guests or flowers that cost more than a car. Simple sounds perfect, and I'm going to keep working I'm not going to turn into some decorative wife who spends the day at the beauty salon. I wouldn't expect anything less from you. And if you go back to being arrogant or full of yourself, I'll remind you who you were before you met me. You can count on that. Ethan laughed. Any other conditions? Yes. Sophia leaned in and whispered in his ear. You're going to have to learn how to really cook. I can't spend the rest of my life rescuing you from kitchen fires. That'll be the hardest part of this marriage. They went back to dancing, lost in their own bubble of happiness, when the music was suddenly cut off by a commotion near the entrance to the hall. People started turning and murmuring, creating a wave of curiosity and tension. What's going on? Sophia asked, trying to see over the crowd. Ethan looked toward the entrance, and his face tightened. Trouble. Victoria Langley had just walked into the room, flanked by two men in suits. Sophia didn't recognize. She looked flawless as always, but there was something different in her expression. It wasn't just anger or jealousy. It was cold determination. Ethan Harper. Victoria shouted loud enough for the whole room to hear. What a coincidence running into you here. Conversations came to a complete stop. The DJ, sensing the tension, shut off the music. 300 people turned to witness what was clearly going to be a confrontation. Victoria, Ethan said calmly, placing a protective arm around Sophia's waist. You weren't invited. Oh, I don't need an invitation to speak the truth. Victoria stepped forward, her heels echoing through the silence, especially when that truth might stop a young woman from making the biggest mistake of her life. Sophia felt her stomach tighten. There was something in Victoria's voice that sounded different this time, less emotional, more calculated. What are you talking about? Ethan asked. I'm talking about your deals with Richardson Holdings, darling, Victoria said with a cold smile, and with Blackstone Industries. Remember those companies you swore you had walked away from? Ethan went pale. Victoria, don't do this. Do what? Tell the truth. She turned to Sophia. Sweetheart, do you really think that man has changed? That he gave up all his shady dealings to suddenly become a saint? One of the men standing with Victoria stepped forward and pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. Miss, he addressed Sophia, I'm a private investigator. I have here documents proving that Mr. Harper maintained investments in companies under investigation for money laundering up until last week. The room exploded in shocked whispers. Sophia felt like she'd just been punched in the stomach. That's not true, Ethan said, but his voice sounded too weak for the situation. Not true. Victoria laughed. Then explain these bank transfers. Explain the meetings you had with Charles Richardson while pretending to launch your charity foundation. She tossed some photos onto the nearest table, even from a distance. Sophia could see Ethan leaving a commercial building, clearly in a business meeting. Sophia turned to him, searching his eyes for some kind of explanation. Tell me it's not true. Sophia, I can explain. Explain. Victoria interrupted. How do you explain lying to her for all these months? How do you explain using a charitable foundation to clean dirty money? That's a lie, Ethan finally shouted, his voice rising with anger. Victoria, you're making this up. Am I? She turned to the investigator. Mr. Collins, would you kindly show the documents to the bride? The man walked toward Sophia with the envelope. She looked at Ethan, hoping, waiting for him to protest, to deny it, to do something to prove it was all fake. But Ethan just stood there with the look of someone who had been caught red-handed. Sophia, he tried to approach. Please let me explain. Explain what? Sophia's voice came out thinner than usual. That you lied to me. That the foundation is fake. That you never really changed. The foundation is real, Ethan insisted. Sophia, please, you have to believe me. But the damage was done. The entire room watched in tense silence. Sophia looked around and saw the shocked faces of her classmates, the worry on her mother's face, and the barely hidden satisfaction on Victoria's. Sophia began, but her voice broke. I need a moment. She ran toward the exit, leaving behind 300 people in disbelief. A desperate Ethan trying to follow her, and a victorious Victoria smiling. The graduation that should have been the happiest day of Sophia's life had turned into the worst nightmare she could imagine. Sophia only made it as far as the hotel hallway before her legs gave out. She leaned against the wall, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The emerald green dress that had made her feel like a princess now felt heavy. The ring on her finger seemed to burn her skin. Everything that had happened over the past few months flashed through her mind like a fast-forwarded movie. "Sophia," Ethan's voice echoed down the hall. "Please, wait." She turned and saw him running toward her, his perfect suit now slightly out of place from rushing. "No." She held up her hand. "I need time to think. Sophia, please just give me 5 minutes." He stopped a few feet away, respecting her space. "Things aren't what they seem. They're not." She let out a bitter laugh because it all seemed very clear back there. Documents, photos, dates, way too specific to be made up. Exactly. It's too specific. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "Sophia, you know me. You know who I've become. Do you really believe I do something like this?" For a moment, Sophia hesitated. She did know Ethan. She had seen his transformation, his sincere efforts to change. "But the evidence, I don't know what to believe anymore," she admitted. At that moment, her mother appeared at the end of the hallway, leaning on her cane, clearly worried. "Sophia, sweetheart, what's going on?" My Sophia started, but was cut off by loud voices coming from the ballroom. "That's right, prove it." It was Victoria's voice. "If you've got nothing to hide, show everyone." "That's exactly what I'm going to do," Ethan answered firmly, his voice echoing through the hallway. Sophia, her mother, and even a few hotel staff moved closer to the ballroom entrance to see what was happening. Ethan was standing in the center of the room, holding his phone, now connected to the hotel sound system. On the large screen that had been used earlier for the graduation presentation, official documents started to appear. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan said, his voice strong and clear, "I'm going to respond to each of these accusations right here, right now." The first image on the screen was an official document showing the dissolution of a business partnership. "This is the official document proving I ended all ties with Richardson Holdings on March 15th of this year." Ethan pointed to the date 3 weeks before I met Sophia. Murmurs spread through the room. Victoria looked visibly uncomfortable. "That could be faked," she shouted. "It could," Ethan agreed calmly. "But this can't." The next image was a screen recording of an official government website showing public business records. "Here are the public records available to anyone proving I got rid of all questionable investments." He moved to the next screen, and here is the official documentation for the Harper Foundation for Education registered with the New York State Department of Nonprofits. The investigator standing with Victoria shifted uncomfortably. "As for the photos," Ethan continued, his voice gaining strength, "this one was taken on the day I went to Charles Richardson's office for the last time. Not to do business, but to personally deliver the dissolution documents of our partnership." He showed a photo on his own phone, time-stamped and geolocated, showing the documents being handed over, and about the supposed recent meetings. Ethan looked directly at Victoria. "I can prove where I was on each of the dates mentioned by Mr. Collins." Sophia was watching everything from the hallway, her heart beating fast. Hope was building inside her, but she still felt cautious. Ethan kept showing documents, bank statements proving clean investments in the foundation, emails with lawyers, dates that matched his version of events perfectly. "Mr. Collins," Ethan turned to the investigator, "could you explain to everyone how you obtained this seemingly confidential information?" The man turned red. It was provided by the client, and who was your client?" "I can't reveal that. You don't need to." Ethan gave a cold smile. "Because I already know." He showed a series of text messages on the screen between Victoria and someone identified only as Collins. "These messages were sent to me by mistake yesterday when Miss Langley tried to send instructions to her investigator." Ethan read aloud. "It needs to look convincing. Use the old photos and mix them with recent dates. He won't be able to defend himself in time." The silence in the room was deafening. Victoria was pale as a sheet. That's invasion of privacy," she shouted. "Not when the messages are sent to my phone by mistake." Ethan put away his phone. "Ladies and gentlemen, everything you saw here today was a desperate attempt to damage my reputation and destroy my happiness." He looked directly toward the hallway where Sophia was standing. "Sophia," he said, his voice softer now, "I understand if you can't forgive me for not explaining this right away. I understand if you need time to process everything, but I want you to know that every word I said about change was true." Sophia felt tears in her eyes, not from sadness, but from relief. "There's one more thing," Ethan continued, now speaking just to her, "that I wanted to tell you today, but in a more private way." A document from the foundation appeared on the screen. Sophia read the name and felt her knees weaken again. Harper Bennett Foundation for Education. Dedicated to the memory and example of Rosa Bennett, a woman of extraordinary courage who raised a remarkable daughter while facing hardship with dignity and grace. Sophia covered her mouth with her hands. Her mother, sitting beside her, began to cry. "The foundation bears your mother's name, Sophia," Ethan said, his voice full of emotion, "because it was her strength and dignity that inspired the amazing woman you became. And it was that woman who taught me how to be a better man." In the room, some people started clapping. Then a few more joined. In seconds, everyone was applauding, while Victoria and her fake investigator quietly slipped out through the back exit. Sophia looked at her mother, who nodded with a smile through her tears. "Go on, sweetheart. Go get your fiancé." Sophia walked back into the room, still trembling with emotion. Ethan saw her coming and stepped down from the small improvised stage, meeting her in the middle of the dance floor. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I'm sorry I doubted you." "You don't have to be sorry." Ethan held her face. She was convincing. "Anyone would have doubts, but I know you. I should have trusted what I knew about you. Sophia, you met me as an arrogant man who tried to solve everything with money." He smiled. "It makes sense that you needed proof I had truly changed, and you did prove it." She held his hands. "Not just that you changed, but that you had the courage to face all this for me. To us." Ethan pulled her closer. "And to our future family." "Our family," Sophia repeated, liking how it sounded. "Does that include my mom?" "Especially your mom. She's going to be my favorite mother-in-law." "She's going to be your only mother-in-law, silly." "Even better." They laughed together, and Sophia finally felt like she could breathe normally again. "Ethan, yes. Is the foundation really named after my mom?" "It is. And it already approved scholarships for 50 students in the first semester." He smiled proudly. "Your mom is going to have an incredible legacy." Sophia looked around the ballroom, seeing her classmates smiling, her mother crying with pride, and she realized she hadn't just graduated that day. She had found her future. So she said, playing with the ring on her finger, "When are we getting married?" "Whenever you want." "What if I want tomorrow?" Ethan laughed. "Tomorrow might be a little rushed, but well, make it work." "I was kidding." Sophia kissed him quickly. "But not really. I'm not going to wait long to marry you, Ethan Harper." "Me neither. Future Mrs. Harper." "Me neither." And finally, after all the misunderstandings, doubts, and obstacles, they were exactly where they were meant to be. Together. With the truth between them and a bright future ahead. 6 months after the graduation that almost turned into a disaster, Sophia Harper, she was still getting used to her new last name, woke up on a Saturday morning to the smell of something burning coming from the kitchen. "Ethan Harper," she shouted, jumping out of bed. "If you set our kitchen on fire again, I'll file for divorce before we even hit 1 month of marriage." His voice came from downstairs, slightly embarrassed. "Technically, it's not on fire. It's just very toasted." Sophia ran down the stairs of the new house they had bought in Brooklyn. It wasn't a penthouse like Ethan's old place, but it was perfect. 3 bedrooms, a small backyard where she planted tomatoes, and a big kitchen just right for her husband's culinary adventures. In the kitchen, she found Ethan standing at the stove, holding a spatula like a weapon, staring at what used to be pancakes. "Sophia, in my defense, the recipe didn't say that medium heat means different things on different stoves." "Ethan, sweetheart." She kissed his cheek, trying not to laugh. "Medium heat means the same thing on every stove. The difference is that you have a special gift for turning anything into charcoal. At least, inconsistent." He scraped the burned pancakes into the trash. "Want me to order breakfast from Georges? I want you to keep trying." Sophia pulled out the ingredients again, because when we have kids, they'll need to know their dad at least tried not to starve them. When we have kids. Ethan froze mid-movement, smiling. "Is this your way of telling me something?" "Not yet." She blushed a little. "But someday, and when that day comes, you'll need to know how to make pancakes without burning the house down." They spent the rest of the morning trying to make a decent breakfast. Ethan managed to make pancakes that were only slightly burned, which for him was practically a culinary masterpiece. "You know," Sophia said, eating a pancake that still tasted a bit like smoke, "I never thought I'd spend Saturday mornings teaching a former millionaire how not to burn the kitchen down." "Former millionaire." Ethan pretended to be offended. "I'm still technically a millionaire. I've just changed how I use the money." And it was true. Over the past 6 months, Ethan had completely transformed his life. The foundation now served more than 200 students. He had sold the penthouse and invested the money in educational programs, and he spent more time in public schools than in private clubs. Speaking of the foundation, Sophia wiped her hands on her apron. "How was the meeting yesterday?" Ethan's face lit up. "We approved scholarships for another 50 students for next semester. And remember Jessica Martinez, that girl from the Bronx we met last month? The one who wants to be a doctor? She got accepted into Columbia. Full scholarship." Sophia felt her eyes fill with tears. Those were the kinds of stories that made all the work worth it. "That's amazing, Ethan. It's just the beginning." He held her hand. Robert said, "If we keep this up, we might be able to open a second office for the foundation next year." Sophia watched her husband talk about the foundation with a passion she had never seen in him when he talked about business or money. It was like he had finally found his purpose in life. "You're happy, aren't you?" she asked. "Sophia, a year ago, I used to wake up every day not knowing what my life was even for," Ethan said as he kissed her hand. "Now I wake up next to the woman I love in a house that truly feels like home, and I go to work knowing I'm actually making a difference in people's lives. How could I not be happy?" That afternoon they went to visit Sophia's mother, who had moved into a better and more accessible apartment in Queens. Her health had improved dramatically since she started receiving proper treatment, so Rosa Bennett said as she served tea to both of them. "When am I getting some grandchildren?" "Mom." Sophia nearly dropped her cup. "What?" "I'm a 62-year-old woman who almost died. I've earned the right to be eager for grandkids." Ethan chuckled. "Mrs. Rosa, I promise, when we're ready, you'll be the first to know. What are you two waiting for?" "A sign from heaven. We're waiting until I can cook without supervision." Ethan replied, "I can't risk putting children in danger." "For heaven's sake." Rosa shook her head. "I can teach you to cook in 2 weeks. Problem solved." Sophia and Ethan exchanged amused looks. In the past few months, Rosa had become not only his mother-in-law, but something like a second mother to Ethan. She was the one person who could make him follow orders without a fight. 2 hours later, on their way home by subway, Ethan was now practically an expert in public transportation. Sophia rested her head on her husband's shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Just how much everything has changed," she said, looking out the train window. "A year ago, I was cleaning your penthouse, and you didn't even know my name." "I knew your name." "No, you didn't." "Well, I was about to find out." Sophia laughed. "Ethan, you called me the new hire for 2 weeks. In my defense, I was going through an existential crisis. And now I know exactly who I am," he said, kissing the top of her head. "I'm the man lucky enough to be married to the most amazing woman in New York. Just New York," she teased. "In the world, but I don't want it going to your head." "Too late." Sophia smiled. "It already has." 2 years later, after the wedding, on a rainy October morning, Sophia was in the kitchen making coffee when she felt familiar arms wrap around her waist. "Good morning, Mrs. Harper," Ethan whispered in her ear. "Good morning, Mr. Harper." She turned in his arms. "So, how does it feel to be a father for exactly 3 weeks?" "Terrifying," he admitted. "Yesterday, I tried changing Noah's diaper and almost had to call the fire department. It's just a baby diaper, Ethan, not a bonfire. For me, anything that involves folding fabric into a specific shape is an engineering challenge." They laughed softly, careful not to wake the baby sleeping in the next room. Noah Harper had come into the world 3 weeks earlier, a healthy baby with his mother's green eyes and his father's stubborn determination. Ethan had cried more than Sophia during the delivery and ever since had lived in a constant state of awe over his son. "You know what's funny?" Sophia asked, cuddling into her husband's arms. "What?" "If someone had told me 2 years ago that turning down a Millionaire's offer for expensive champagne would change my whole life, I'd have thought they were crazy. And if someone told me that an employee who compared my champagne to fizzy water would become my wife and the mother of my children, I'd have had them committed. But that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened," Ethan agreed. "And you know something, Sophia." "What?" "Champagne still tastes like fizzy water." Sophia burst into laughter. "I can't believe you admitted that." "I'd admit anything to you, even that your scrambled eggs are better than mine." "My scrambled eggs are way better than yours." "That's not an admission." It's scientific fact. At that moment, they heard the baby crying from the next room. "I'll get him," Ethan said. "No, let me. You handled the 2 a.m. shift. Let's go together." They walked to the baby's room together, which was simple but lovingly decorated. Ethan picked up Noah, and the baby stopped crying immediately. "He adores you," Sophia said, smiling. "It's because we're alike. 2 guys lucky enough to have you in our lives." Sophia looked at her husband holding their son, and her heart filled with a happiness so deep it almost hurt. "Ethan, huh? Thank you for what? For proving that people really can change. For showing me that fairy tales do exist. They're just not what we expect. Sophia, you're the one who changed my life," Ethan said, gently rocking the baby. "You taught me that real wealth has nothing to do with what's in the bank, and you taught me that sometimes it's worth giving someone a second chance. Even when that someone almost burned down the house trying to fry an egg." "That's exactly why," Sophia said, kissing her husband and son. "It means I'll always have funny stories to tell." That morning, while they had breakfast with Noah, sleeping in Ethan's arms, Sophia looked around the kitchen of their small Brooklyn home. There was no Italian marble or fancy chandeliers, but there was something far more valuable: love, laughter, and a family built on trust and mutual growth. And as the morning sun came through the kitchen window, shining on a family that had come together in the most unexpected way, Sophia knew they had found something money could never buy: true love built on respect, growth, and the courage to become better people for each other.